Somebody snitched on me. I spilled some ink on Mommy's rug. I made Tommy eat a bug. Bought some gum with a penny slug. Somebody snitched on me.
The whole thing was silenced. Darn. Everything. Yeah. Sorry. I apologize. I'm going to start this whole stream over. I feel like I should start this whole stream over. I've wrecked my audio. I've wrecked everything. Well, let's see. I've got to start from the top. So I'm doing my Christmas thing. I'm trying to do the Christmas songs at the beginning of the show, but I just wrecked it all completely, and now we're starting over, and I had it all silenced until now, and I'm debating starting over. I don't know. Anyway, there's no pipeline in Alberta, but we're allowed to build one in Ukraine. They have $1 billion fund that we're funding with $70 million, but the fund is not collated correctly. It's not calculated right, and because it's not calculated right, we're only getting $44 million credit, but we gave $70 million. And why are we giving $70 million to a $1 billion energy fund in Ukraine anyway? We should just build pipelines in Canada. The CPC is moving amendments to C9, but if they opposed the amendment or the C9, the bill on principle, then you would think that they would not move amendments to the bill that added hate symbols. It failed, but what is going on, the CPC? American pundits are promising to pay for healthcare for Canadians who are being offered MAID instead, and that story is just wild. If there was a doctor available, and if the doctor would write a referral, then the person might live. But as there's no doctor available, there's nobody to give the referral, and, well, sorry about your luck, but you're going to die, I guess. But we could make it more comfortable if you want. Here's an injection that will kill you fast. So Glenn Beck is trying to save this woman's life. Birthright citizenship and estate tax in the United States. The U.S. pushes gas-powered car ban back, or the United Kingdom, not the United States, pushes their gas-powered car ban back to 2040 because it's never going to happen, and they all know it, and they're trying to keep this grift alive. And well, it's all about power, so they're keeping the grift alive. Canada contributes $70 million, and we've already talked about that. So there's lots to get to. Let's get to it. First, we've got to talk about free speech. And sorry for flubbing the beginning of the show. I always hate it when I screw things up, but I don't want to start over because I feel like I just have to deal with it. Anyway, Victoria says... Lots to get to. Let's get to it. First, Victoria says, breaking, Carney has sold us out. Digital ID is part of his EU partnership deal. He's a man on his own mission. No consultations, no other input from other parties. He's just a bull in a china shop ready to sell us out for his dream of control. You should be very worried. I'm pretty worried. And worried that it's going to be a lot like the United Kingdom. People will show up at your door and they will throw you in jail. And once that's done, it is difficult to get yourself out of the system because the system is cracked. The system is designed to, well, it's incentivized to keep you in it. As much as they want to release dangerous, violent criminals, they want to keep thought criminals in jail in the gulag as long as possible. Here's the European Commission, and they say a new step for our digital partnership, and they've got the Canadian flag and the European flag and handshaking emoji. And I think this is childish. If somebody sent that to me, I would say you stop being childish. Use the words, you idiot. Anyway, this week we reinforced cooperation with Canada to boost competitiveness, innovation, and economic resilience at the first Digital Partnership Council for a digital economy that works for all. No, EU-Canada Digital Partnership in a meme. So there you go. This meme probably cost us hundreds of thousands of dollars, if not millions of dollars. Unfortunately. Election Wizard says social media platforms begin implementing Australian laws banning access for those who are under 16. Now, I don't use Facebook already for the most part. I use X, but I don't use a lot of the things that X offers. I just look at it for what's going on and I talk about what's going on. And I don't have a big following on X and I don't make any money on X or anything like that. I don't view it as a censorship-free platform because for me, it's not. So anyway, update to our terms. They say users must now be 16 or older to use TikTok in Australia. We'll use your age information to confirm if you're old enough to use TikTok and for other purposes as described in our privacy. By continuing, you agree to our terms of service. So are they going to shut down people who are not 16? Are you going to, how do you prove that you're 16 years old? Are you sending in your identity to TikTok now? Or is that the responsibility of the digital ID? And people are going to say, oh, this is very reasonable digital ID because we have to make sure those under 16s are protected. Why don't we just go chop off your penis there, buddy? We have to protect those kids in order to mutilate their sex organs later. So, and by later, I mean before puberty really takes hold, but after they don't know enough. Oh my gosh. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous what's going on. These people don't care about protecting children. They care about pushing their ideology forward, and they don't want to have people standing in their way saying, hey, that's a bad idea, or hey, don't do that, or hey, that violates our basic rights, right? And they just want to crush those people and hand wave away the rights. Greg Wycliffe is responding to Andrew Lawton, and this is from at the beginning of the show. I was talking about how the Conservatives are moving motions. I've said that I like Andrew Lawton, and so I don't know. Is this some kind of strategy? Is this a strategy to show how ideological the Liberals are, and they won't vote for anything the Conservatives put forward? Julian Assange also destroys Andrew Lawton with regards to this as well. I think I've got this another time in this series of tabs because I wasn't sure I had it, so I added it again. But anyway, here's Andrew Lawton. Greg Wycliffe says, so wait, the CPC is calling to ban more symbols with Bill C-9 now? How does this help prevent the bill from passing exactly? With the free speech of all Canadians on the line, now is not the time to try and dunk on communists. And Andrew Lawton says, I moved an amendment to Bill C-9 to list the hammer and sickle as a hate symbol. 100 million people have died under that insignia, with countless more oppressed. The Liberal and Bloc Committee members voted it down. And so that's interesting. And here's Julian Assange. He says, Canada provided the Soviet Union with substantial aid during World War II, including 1,388 Valentine tanks, 800,000 military transport vehicles, including 1,348 universal carriers, vast quantities of raw materials like 300,000 tons of aluminum, and significant amounts of foodstuffs. The total financial value was part of Canada's broader $3 billion. Or value as part of Canada's broader $3 billion contributed to the war. So wild. What's that in inflation adjusted monies, right? Like that's a huge amount of money. It's absolutely crazy. And so it's very, very concerning what's going on, and nobody seems to care all that much. I don't know. Andrew Gunn says, I can't believe this. Today, the Liberals and the Bloc Québécois worked together to pass an amendment to Bill C-9, which was already a horrible and dangerous piece of legislation, to criminalize the reading of certain religious texts, including those found within the Bible, the Torah, and the Quran. Free speech, free expression, and freedom of religion are the most essential of our constitutional freedoms. The government should never have the power to coerce or control speech or interfere in the practice of your faith. Yeah. If somebody says you have to call this man a woman, I'm going to say no. That's not going to happen. I'm sorry. Yeah, here's Andrew Lawton, and he's moving the bill to add the hammer and sickle as a hate speech thing. If you oppose the bill on principle, then you should fundamentally oppose the bill and say, this is wrong. We shouldn't do this to Canadians. Not say, you know what else is a hate speech symbol? So that's a red flag for Andrew Lawton. Alum says the Biden administration kickstarted the EU's crusade against X. The EU is using Digital Services Act to fine X into oblivion for daring to restore free speech. But the EU didn't create the DSA on its own. It was the product of 4 years of US-EU collaboration under Joe Biden. In the first of the Biden administration, the Office of the U.S. Trade Representative and the International Trade Administration at the Department of Commerce began a 4-year-long collaboration with their EU counterparts. It was called the U.S.-EU Trade and Technology Council. The purpose of the TTC was to establish areas of agreement between the EU and US on digital policy. It established several working groups to achieve this aim. One of them, Working Group 5, aimed to develop a shared approach to fight harmful content and disinformation. And he's taken a screenshot, right? And it says, current and future regulations in both the United States and European Union with the goal of effectively addressing shared concerns while respecting full regulatory autonomy of the United States and the European Union. We have identified common issues of concern around illegal and harmful content and their algorithmic amplification, transparency and access to platforms' data for researchers, as well as the democratic responsibility of online intermediaries. We have also identified a shared interest in using voluntary and multi-stakeholder initiatives to complement regulatory approaches in some areas. We are committed to transatlantic cooperation regarding platform policies that focus on disinformation, product safety, counterfeit products, and other harmful content. We plan to engage with platform companies to improve researchers' access to data generated by platforms. Nope. How about nope? If you're a researcher and you want access to my customers' data, you can go away. You can go away. Get out of here. I'm not interested. And I think that it's interesting that they are interested in disinformation and misinformation. But when middle managers, when municipal employees, health, medical officers of health with no evidence, and city councilors and mayors and provincial MPPs who have no medical training and things like that all say this is safe and effective, that's not misinformation. That's the state telling you that this is a safe thing, but they couldn't possibly know that at the time. And when we've done the research and found out, hey, actually it's not safe or effective. Now we know that wasn't misinformation. Nobody's been held accountable for that, but they want to arrest people for saying, do you think that blocking out the sun is a bad idea? And why are you not allowing people to ask questions about this? Those kind of thought criminals are the people that they want to crack down on and throw in jail. Misinformation and disinformation. But safe and effective for this thing you inject into your family that maybe kills people in your family, there's no recourse for that. You just have to trust us. And if we're wrong, well, nobody will ever be held accountable for our error, and you will suffer the consequences. And that's just how it is, bub, because you want to live in a world that's nice, right? And peaceful and happy and everybody's getting along and stuff. And why do you have to ask questions that we don't like? We're trying to celebrate our bridge here. It's so crazy. And people don't even see it. People don't care. Peter Sweden says, did you know the former interior minister of Finland is being prosecuted for the crime of posting a Bible verse on social media? Now, I haven't looked up the article on here, but always take this with a grain of salt. Okay, so it's one of those things. There's probably more to this story, but at the same time, the broad strokes are probably accurate. And so the case is now awaiting a ruling from the Supreme Court. Free speech in Europe is under attack. Free speech everywhere is under attack. Spencer Fernando says, hey, Europe, how you doing? And Spencer Fernando, despite evidence, photographic evidence before AI was, well, I guess AI was kind of coming up then, but you could tell then. Photographic evidence of the Azov unit and like documentaries here out the wazoo and biolabs, man, come on. But I tried to tell him, I was like, listen, dude, the Azov unit is a Nazi unit. And like, just go look. It's right here. All you have to do is look. And he blocked me. What an idiot. And so Spencer Fernando says, hey, the EU, I love this censorship. We should stand with you, the EU. Spencer Fernando says, Canada should stand with the European Union. Yvonne says, no, the EU is an utter failure economically, politically, and demographically, and non-democratic to boot. The Eurocrats hate the people, and when the people vote the wrong way, they ban candidates and parties. And Slovakia, Germany, France, it's not small places that they're doing this to. That's bad. And JD Vance says, hey, Europe, what's going on? Why are you banning free speech? And what values do we share exactly? Please be explicit.
Germany's entire defense is subsidized by the American taxpayer. There are thousands upon thousands of American troops in Germany today. Do you think that the American taxpayer is going to stand for that if you get thrown in jail in Germany for posting a mean tweet? Of course they're not. Right? So the point that I try to make to our European friends, and I think that there are friends, I believe that, I know President Trump does, is that friendship is based on shared values. You do not have shared values if you're jailing people for saying we should close down our border. You don't have shared values if you cancel elections because you don't like the result, and that happened in Romania. You do not have shared values if you're so afraid of your own people that you silence them and shut them up. Germany's entire
truth, absolute truth. And so, what do you do with that? What do you do with that? Well, what the people, so in Guelph, there was some kind of conference, and the mayor of Dublin or something like that, city of Columbia, mayor of the city of Columbia, comes to Guelph and says, you know what? Ignore your citizens, ignore your constituents, ignore the people who elected you. Don't eat the garbage. Don't go on social media. It's nonsense. They don't want to hear from the citizens. When I say they hate us, I mean, they think they're our betters and that they should rule us. In fact, they do rule us, and we should just listen to them because they've never been wrong. Nobody's ever been held accountable for doing anything wrong. Climate change is a terrible scourge, and so is racism. And we're going to stamp it out by importing a whole bunch of people from a different country and destroying our own culture because our own culture led to this in the first place. What? I know, it's crazy, but that's what they think. And they sit in big rooms that we pay for as the taxpayer and circle jerk each other about it. Here's Cam Guthrie yesterday. He says, December 9th, he says, don't eat the garbage, says the mayor of Columbia, the city of Columbia, as he encourages elected officials to stay away from social media, don't engage with negativity, and speak and do things in your community focused on all that is positive. When you have issues, when you have concerns, these things are difficult conversations to have. And you're 3 or 4 difficult conversations away from having the business you want or the city you want or the family you want or whatever it is. You've got a couple of hard conversations, and then after that, the toothpaste doesn't get squeezed in that way, right? Or whatever thing that you want to negotiate happens, hopefully, right? Or another uncomfortable conversation. But these people are saying those uncomfortable conversations, no way, bury them in the closet. Don't listen to those people, call them names and ignore them, block them. Don't go to social media. Ha 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 ha. And in that way you'll win and they'll lose. What? It's insane. This is not how things are supposed to work. You're supposed to hear from your constituents in order to get a barometer of how you're doing. And if a whole bunch of people are calling you an idiot and a globalist and a communist and a traitor, then that should be a signal. It shouldn't be, oh, why are those people being so hateful? We're being hateful, in your words, because you're doing things that harm our community and you pretend that you're not by ignoring the criticisms and calling it hateful. And it's insane. It's insane. And nobody seems to care. Cam Guthrie says, the same mayor says, the greatest challenge they consistently face is the internet. So he's an idiot. It is the source of a lot of pain. Okay. So he's completely invalidated any other opinion that he could possibly have. What a moron. The biggest innovation changed the world in multiple ways. You know the real problem here? The internet, says the mayor of Columbia. Moron. Mayor Guthrie, again, he says fact versus fiction. Posts done by the city of Dublin being discussed by Lord Mayor Ray McAdam. They post with documentation to tackle the consistent, purposeful misinformation brought to their attention. It confronts the myths at the local level and helps to empower citizens to spot fake news. Such utter bullshit. Absolute bullshit. And they pat themselves on the back pretending that they are somehow doing something for the citizens when all they're doing is entrenching their own power. Lola says, it's wild to me how people on this platform, X or otherwise, from all over the world are complaining about how their country is being destroyed and are not able to connect the dots that it's a worldwide reset to bring in a one world government complete with total AI surveillance. Yes, I wish it weren't so. Greg says digital ID isn't being slowly worked in because of Carney or the Liberal Party. It's happening on provincial and municipal levels through foreign organizations. It's happening through financial institutions. It's happening through organizations like the Digital ID and Authentication Council of Canada, created by the Conservative Party. This isn't a partisan issue. The Conservative Party doesn't oppose any of this. Alberta's United Conservative Party doesn't oppose this. While they may not overtly promote it, they are doing nothing to oppose it, let alone creating any public awareness. Local governments, provincial governments, and the federal government are allowing this to happen nationwide through a wide array of foreign NGOs and special interest groups like the C40 Cities and Our Cities Network. The problem is way more advanced than people realize. Way worse, way worse. And so what to do about it? Well, don't let the people who destroyed it continue to run the system they're destroying. That's the number one thing. Healthcare, this is a huge deal. And then we've got pipelines to talk about. And we're already out of time, but I'm going to keep going because of all that silence at the beginning of the show. Sometimes I mess up. And tomorrow, I'll try and be better. So anyway, Glenn Beck says, if there is any surgeon in America who can do this, I'll pay for this patient to come down here for treatment. This is the reality of compassionate, progressive healthcare. Canada must end this insanity, and Americans can never let it spread here. Yeah. And Rachel says, this is a nightmare. So she visited the province legislature on Tuesday to plead for help getting surgery to remove her remaining parathyroid gland. Currently, there's no Saskatchewan surgeon available to perform the operation. Van Alstyne said she must be referred out of province, but she can't obtain a referral without first being seen by an endocrinologist, and none of them are accepting new patients. Oh, sorry. I would refer you, but you see this? I can't accept a new patient, so I can't refer you. So would you like to die? We'll do it for you. Quick. What an unbelievable thing. Van Alstyne said the pain has become so unbearable that she's had us applied and been approved for MAID on January 7th. So that's pretty terrible. And how do you deal with that kind of situation? And other influencers and things are picking up are being made aware of what's happening. Canada Proud picks this up, and American conservative commentator Glenn Beck says he will pay for Jolene Van Alstyne, a Canadian woman who's been approved for MAID after no surgeons in Saskatchewan were available to treat her rare parathyroid disease, to receive treatment in the United States. So hope that your thing isn't too rare and that the doctors are able to do it. If they can't, well, they'll just offer to kill you. And that's not great. That's not great. Kara says this poor woman was offered MAID because it was too long of a wait for her life-saving surgery. God bless Glenn Beck for personally paying for her to get treatment in the U.S. so the Canadian government doesn't have to execute her. Scary stuff. Yesterday, Pierre Poilievre moved a motion that had all of the things that the Liberals wanted in the motion, and they still vetoed it. And there was a 5-minute video, and I don't know if I have it. I thought I had it. I thought this was it, actually, but of Pierre Poilievre talking about how they put everything in the motion that the Liberals said was missing from the motion in order for the Liberals to pass it, and it still didn't pass. So it was always window dressing. It was never actually a real memorandum of understanding. And the Liberals are saying this is all pantomime. This is fake. It's a fake thing, and we shouldn't have to vote for this. It's already in the memorandum of understanding, so voting for it in the House of Commons is just silly. And so it's all mudslinging, and I don't think any of it is real, and it feels like shadow boxing, and it doesn't feel like we're getting any closer to anything really breaking through in Canada. We're just going to continually decline until everybody's used to the lower state of everything. And man, I hope I'm wrong about that, but it doesn't seem like we're doing the necessary things to turn the clock back. With that, I've got to say goodbye to the stream. If you want the whole show, head over to CanadaPoly.com. If not, that's okay. We'll catch you tomorrow. And for everybody else, I will continue on. And as soon as I end the stream here, okay, that's all done. Sheldon says there never was a deal. On the same day that we learned that Canada is funding a pipeline in Ukraine, same day. And here is the news release. It says today the Honorable Today, the Honorable Anita Anand, Minister of Foreign Affairs, announced that Canada is expediting the final portion of the $70 million contribution to the Ukraine Energy Support Fund, an initiative led by the Energy Community Secretariat to support energy needs in Ukraine. A payment of $10 million has been dispersed early to help Ukraine repair critical energy infrastructure damaged by Russian strikes. And it talks about how different things here. This is the Ukraine Energy Support Fund here, and it says the total signed commitments is 1,292.7 million. So that's 1.2 billion. The accounting's a little hinky, right? And then at the bottom here, you can see that it's $1 billion, right? Canada has $44 million contributed according to the fund here. And there's a bunch of private equity as well. Denmark's got private equity, $73 million from Denmark, and Germany's got private equity too, $389 million from Germany. So there's all sorts of money going into this $1 billion fund. Why is it important that Canada funds Ukraine's energy needs, and why are they allowed to build pipes, right? Like, it seems pretty crazy. They're going to be building pipelines, and we can't build a pipeline in Canada. Are they going to build it? Oh, here it is. This is the 5-minute thing that I thought I lost. CBC Watcher says, watch Polyev. We're going to amend our own motion in order to include things that the Liberals claim we left out. So he does this right at the end of the thing. And just we'll do it here. He's amending the motion in real time, and they still vote no.
I, and by adding after the words Indigenous people, the following. 2, green-lighting the world's largest carbon capture, utilization, and storage CCUS project for the purpose of making Alberta oil among the lowest carbon intensity produced barrels of oil in the world. 3, providing meaningful opportunity for Indigenous rights holders to participate in consultation processes and economic opportunities through Indigenous ownership, partnerships, and benefits. 4, engaging with British Columbia immediately in a trilateral discussion on the pipeline project and during the potential development and construction of the bitumen pipeline referred to in the MOU, and to further the economic interests of BC related to their own projects of interest that involve the province of Alberta, including the interties and Canada working with BC on other projects of national interest in their jurisdiction. Madam Speaker, this amendment